I have a new video for you that is going to be much different than the types of videos I normally post here, but I'm hoping that I can make this sort of a new series that will help to inform the community at large, and I think a lot of people will find the data here interesting. So what I decided to do was enlist the help of everybody's good friend Lars70, who was able to take the decks that he found posted on Discord when it comes to coalition events. So this is all data that comes from the screenshots posted by the people in the communities in Discord. So what I wanted to do was just basically set up a report that will tell people exactly what's being played, how often, what cards are being used in event decks, which will hopefully help to inform a player as to what are the cards that are going to be worth chasing going forward. Because if these cards are showing up in many decks over a long period of time in multiple events, that means that they are going to be very useful for the average player to own in any circumstance. There is a disclaimer that I have to make about the data here. It's a fairly limited sample size. Lars was only able to go back to August of 2024, and the bot did not discriminate between decks that were posted by the same person over multiple channels. There could be some overrepresentation in some of the numbers here, and we'll get to those when I present all the data that I analyze here. So it's not a perfect system. I'm hoping that with this project being kicked off here, there'll be a way to have people contribute more relevant data and just help to make the system a lot more accurate and therefore be more useful and informative. All right, that being said, let's get to the fun stuff. The first bit of data I'm going to present to you is the top 3 most used cards. And this was interesting to me. Leyline of the Guild Pact was the most used card with 114 appearances in decks. Cryptex was number 2 with 104 appearances, and Sunken Citadel number 3 with 84 appearances. So what do we make of this? To me, it says that mass gem conversion is still a very viable strategy. I think it will always be. And the cards that convert the most gems to your Planeswalker colors get the most play. Those cards can be used by any Planeswalker, is why you see them in so many decks. I think Leyline of the Guild Pact edges out Cryptex because of its overflow effect that can really be used without having to put mana into it. So that makes it a more versatile card, even though it costs a lot more. Next bit of data, Requisition Raid is the most used spell, followed by Molten Collapse, which happen to be number 4 and 5 most frequently used cards. What I make of this is mass removal or multifunctional removal is really valuable. So the more a spell can do and the more powerful effect, the more it's going to get played. Our number 6 most used card is Tempt with Discovery. So even though it's both a monocolor card and a masterpiece, mass conversion is so useful and powerful that it will get played in just about any deck that can do so. So I think that if you have Tempt with Discovery, Requisition Raid, those kinds of spells, you're going to use it. It's that good. Next card that we're going to look at is Assemble the Players, the 7th most used card with 51 appearances. I think that continuous auto fetch from your library into play is just considered a very valuable effect across the community. So that is why this card gets used so often. I think this card would be used even more if there were less objectives that required you to cast creatures from your hand in coalition events. So this is good for summon objectives, but it actually hurts you when it comes to casting objectives because it takes the creatures out of your library, so you have to fetch them in some way. Golden Wish became the number 8 most used card. It's two very powerful effects in one card. I would have expected it to be a little bit higher, but it could be due to how this data was collected. And then also, it's still a masterpiece, so maybe not that many people have it, but it is one of those cards where if you have it, you're gonna probably use it. Here's where the data starts to get kind of weird and kind of fascinating in its own way because of the conclusions that we can try and make from it. At number 12, coalition victories is surprisingly high ranking. So my conclusion is that this is a result of that relatively narrow sample size of the data collected. Like, I personally use coalition victory in a lot of the decks that I've posted, which is probably overinflating the representation of this card rather than being an accurate assessment of the card's actual usage. The card is an expensive pay-only exclusive, so not that many people own it. However, the card is amazingly strong, so if you do own it, you're probably using it a lot, right? Okay, Dragonhawk and Season of the Bold are tied in usage frequency, being number 13 with 34 appearances. And Dragonhawk is actually the most used creature in decks. So what do we make of this? This 1-2 punch is a really solid strategy for quick wins, and it is hard to defend against. And I'm assuming this is because Quintorius Cans first, giving huge boost to this combo. Also, any red planeswalker can run this strategy as well. So it does make it a pretty good quick battle go-to. Although we're looking at coalition events here for the data, I could see that certain people are probably going to use Quintorius Can to stall and hit objectives, and then play Dragonhawk, Season of the Bold, and his abilities to actually win. So that's my guess as to why these two cards are both high in our rankings and why we see them paired together. Assimilation Aegis and Kylox's Volt Strider are the two most used artifact supports. They are number 14 and number 15, and they're also tied with Commodore Guth Vanguard, which is the most used Vanguard in Coalition events. So, my conclusion, these are two very different yet very powerful cards. They're also frequently coupled with Golden Wish, so Aegis stops enter the battlefield effects, which are very powerful at the moment, when they're creatures, of course. But Kylox helps to speed up strategies that use high-cost spells, which, as you can see with the frequency of them in decks, makes this card really useful. Golden Wish can also fetch Vanguards, which may explain its high inclusion rate as well. Here's another really weird bit of data here. Number 16 is Devourer of Destiny with 16 appearances. So my conclusion is going to be very similar to Coalition Victory. One person's frequent usage of this card in multiple decks represented can skew the data to misrepresent its actual popularity in the game. I personally haven't seen Devourer of Destiny in a lot of decks that I played against, but it could be just that there are a couple of people who use this card. It is a colorless card, but it is PM2, so I don't imagine a lot of people are playing it. And also, I think other cards are better removal in most situations than this card is. However, this could also be a result of people finding good use out of it, and it is actually a better card than people really give it credit for. That's just my guess about it, but if you are using Devourer of Destiny, let me know, and maybe it'll give me a better insight onto why people are using this card a lot. Number 19 is where we finally see Ghalta Stampede Tyrant. To me, that's surprisingly low. It's a bit tough for me to figure out, because I would have thought this card would have been much higher in the rankings. But I don't know, is it due to people just getting tired of playing it? I don't think so. I feel like this card is frequently seen in my experience, but those decks may have not actually been shared publicly all that often. That's the only thing that I can really think of, because I definitely ran into Ghalta in the Coalition event that we just played this weekend, even though it does not fit objectives at all. And that could be a reason also that we don't see Ghalta as much in coalition event decks, because a lot of times you are having to slow yourself down or play a more controlled deck to hit objectives, and Ghalta doesn't necessarily fit into that strategy. Number 20 is Mystical Teachings. It's too new of a card, I think, to be higher on this list, but it'll undoubtedly climb up the ranks as more players acquire it. You can trust me on that. The next most frequently used creatures are Area the Beguiler with 22 appearances, Tempting Witch with 21 appearances, the Master of Keys with 20 appearances, and Satoru the Infiltrator with 19 appearances. There's a definite glaring thing popping up here. How did Tempting Witch not only make it onto this list, but so high? 21 appearances for a common legacy card. I don't understand. Again, the only logical conclusion I can make is that one person was using this card for a specific objective and was posting this deck in multiple areas. I can't imagine it accounting for every single instance of this showing up in the data. So there could have been some error in the collection of the data or something. But if you are using Tempting Witch, let me know why, and it may give me some idea of why this is up so high. Number 18, Gather the Pack, is the most frequently used card from Origins. So my conclusion here is that there's a good synergy with graveyard recursion strategies, along with it being a card that everyone owns. I believe it actually comes with the starter Nissa deck, so everybody owns this card. So that might be why it shows up in coalition events still, but also it helps with bringing stuff for Grist out of the graveyard. Aurelia the Law Above is number 18 with 16 appearances. I think people understand the power of this card, and the fact that it is a rare makes it good for peasant objectives and things like that. And so I think that this card is about where it should be in the amount of usage that it's getting. Deploy the Gatewatch is the first legacy powerhouse card to make it onto the list at number 27. Notable cards also here are Ripples of Undeath, card I love to use, Titan's Vanguard, another card I love to use, Hit the Motherlode, Loot the Key to Everything, and the Mind Skinner, which is kind of interesting. I didn't know people were playing the Mind Skinner in coalition events. Healer of the Pride and Ambiguity tied at number 28. Two PMA cards, probably the two most used PMA cards, especially in coalition events. Ambiguity is a great card to control your opponent in multiple ways. So Healer of the Pride enables a ton of different strategies that revolve around creature tokens, I should say, and gem conversion. So I would have actually thought that it would be higher up on the list, but Tribute to Hunger is also at this rank. Demolish, Rush of Dread, Sylvan Tutor, Starseer Mentor, Snuff Out, and the infamous Cruel Claw. So these are all being used at the same rate as Healer of the Pride and Ambiguity, in case you weren't clear. Rakdos is at 29 with only 12 appearances. I think this card should be up higher on the list, but it could be due to players just not sharing their builds with Rakdos publicly as much as they used to. And also, maybe a lot of people find Rakdos kind of wins a little too quickly when it gets out of control, so maybe not a lot of people are playing it in coalition events because they're trying to go perfect, so Rakdos might make them win too quickly. Omni is at number 30 with 11 appearances. This is probably just due to it being a legacy masterpiece, even though it is the best legacy masterpiece in the game by far. But for one, we don't play that many legacy PvP events, so you're not going to see Omni in a lot of decks already. And then also, I don't think people are sharing their Omni builds like they used to because if you're sharing an Omni deck on the Discord, you're just assuming that only a few people are going to be able to use it the same way as you, because not a lot of people are going to have it. So it doesn't really benefit the community that much to share an Omni build. Number 32 has a lot of notable cards at this rank. Crowl Whipcracker, Legions to Ashes, Steamcore Scholar, Rite of Flame, Over the Top, Johann Stopgap, Thundering Falls, which is interesting, Mox Pearl, Boombox, Desert, Demon Inferior, Flotsam, and Midnight Snack. Flotsam is probably getting used mainly in conjunction with Follow the Bodies. I'll have to look to see where Follow the Bodies actually ended up in the rankings here. At rank 33, Judith is being used much less than Satoru. My conclusion is that it's a BFTA exclusive, so it makes it a little bit more rare to acquire, and maybe just people aren't playing the Judith Satoru combo in Legacy or in Coalition events like I imagine they might, but that could all change as we get more data and people are more inclined to share their decks to feed the system here. We might start to see the meta kind of skew one way or the other, or at least just what the data represents about the meta. So I found all this info really interesting, and I can't wait to see how it evolves. If people are interested in this sort of thing, I'll keep it going. I'm not totally sure if Lars wants me to share the data publicly yet. He might be okay with it, but he is on vacation right now, so it's hard to get a hold of him. So unfortunately, I don't know how much more I can share about it, but if you are interested and he is willing to, send him a DM on Discord and maybe he'll share the raw data with us all publicly so that everybody can kind of take a look at it and make their own conclusions with it. This was really fun, very eye-opening, and I really hope to continue to present these kinds of reports to you in the future. So if you like this sort of thing, let me know. Give this video a like, subscribe, do all those things, and yeah. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one.